Good morning. My name is Chandra, and it is mid-July in Vermont, which is a gorgeous time of the year for this state. Today is going to be very hot, so I'm taking you out to see the garden early. It's about 8:30, and the sun is just starting to hit the garden, so it's looking really beautiful and gorgeous and big and lush, and things are growing so fast. I think some plants get a foot a day. So here we are. The sun is right on the green beans. Let me turn you around. I think the last time we looked at the garden, it was early June, and I meant to get out here a couple weeks ago. But every week I wait, it gets bigger, and this is just when I'm getting to it. So here we are at the garlic bed. I did harvest the scapes. It looks like I missed one. Here's one that's going to turn into a flower. I harvested the scapes a few weeks ago, and now I'm just waiting to pull the bulbs when the first 3 leaves die back. So we've got one that's gone, and this one's going. So another couple weeks, and this will be ready to pull. And then I kind of had the idea, I thought I had a couple volunteer ground cherries in this bed, but I don't. So I thought that I would pull these out and let the ground cherries flourish because they get giant. So I think what I'll do next year, wherever I plant my garlic, is leave a space on the sunnier end so that there's not too much sun blocked. And I'll put the garlic somewhere else next year. I haven't planned out my next year's garden yet. I like to wait and see what worked and what didn't work in this garden first. But I'll leave a space, plant ground cherry, and do that next year, because I think that will work out nicely, because our season is not really long enough to plant something else when you pull the garlic out. Maybe I guess a lettuce or a radish would be okay, but I tried bush beans last year and it just wasn't quite long enough before we had a frost. So on the edges of my garlic bed, I have cosmos here and here. I have a beautiful nasturtium that is coming over the sides. This is what I wanted for them to do this year. I did them in lots of places. And I did potatoes for the first time. So those are behind the garlic, and they're giant. It was suggested to me, so I planted these really deep, like as deep as I could under the dirt and under this fabric that I have. And I thought that would just be what we have. But then it was suggested to me that I put straw and mound on top that way. So hopefully we'll get more potatoes between the straw and the ground, and then also, of course, down under the dirt. When I put the straw on, they were just right above it, and now they are double the height. I mean, these have just done so well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now on the end of this bed, there is a trellis that is an arch, and on the side that's in the bed of the garlic and the potatoes, we have peas, another nasturtium on this end, and some zinnias on the corner here. I also have a thyme plant. Now, I hadn't planned on doing this straw. That was suggested to me after things were planted. So this thyme plant is kind of struggling in here, but those couldn't overwinter. So I'm hoping maybe I'll mulch this, and I have another one across the way in this bed, and maybe those can come back. I would like to have those in my perennial garden, but my cats use the gardens for bathrooms. So anything we want to eat, I try to keep over here. More cosmos on the back, and these are just huge and beautiful, and we've been cutting lots of these to bring in, and I just love flowers. And what I'm doing this year is cutting every single, I'll probably come back in here today and cut every single bloom, because the more you cut, the more you get. So then we have them outside, we have them inside, and I just love nothing more than having flowers inside. So here's our peas, and they are really taking off. I was just munching on some. Oh, it's looking into the sun this way. But there's a nice big one here. I'll have those for dinner sometime this week and munch on them in the garden. So now coming over to the bed next to the garlic. This bed has the other side of that arch, and here we have a scarlet runner bean. These you can eat, you can dry them, and I've seen recipes for hummus. They're giant beans, and they're beautiful purple beans, and they also get these beautiful red flowers, and hummingbirds love these. So I try to keep these throughout my garden, and this year I did a really good job of kind of putting them on the edge of every trellis that I have. So there's one on each side here. And I will harvest those beans, and I do want to make hummus sometime. I have some already that I haven't done anything with yet. but I'm going to, and we'll see how we like that. This is a cherry tomato, so this can just go crazy on this side of the trellis. So it has lots of room. It's getting pretty tall, but it still has lots of room. Here's the scarlet runner bean going way up there on the top. Behind this trellis in this little bed, I have parsley. I just cut this off probably a week ago and froze all of that, and it's grown right back. Same thing as with the flowers, just the more you cut, the more you get. So I eat this fresh, and then I also like to have lots in the freezer for the rest of the winter. Freezes really well. Once it's frozen, you can crush it down and it gets very small. So I fill hopefully I'll fill a couple gallon bags with that this year. These are peppers and zinnias. Zinnias are kind of in the middle, no flowers right now because I cut those yesterday, but oh, there's a little bud coming. And then I have peppers all around. I think there's 4 or 5 all around these zinnias, and I don't remember what variety. I'm really a bad labeler. It seems like more than I can manage. Over here in the next bed, we have a very crammed bed. This is the first bed that I planted with my cold weather crops, so this is full, and I'm starting to really pull things out of here. These are all beets on the side, but we have bush beans right behind them, and there's one right there. So I've got a row of beets, then a row of bush beans with zinnias interspersed, another row of beets, and then a row of lettuce. The lettuce is mostly eaten, but we still have some. It's starting to go to seed. Like this looks like it's getting pretty tall. It might not be good anymore, but it lasted longer than I expected. It even went through a really hot spell we had, I think because it's so shaded by tomatoes on this trellis and then the beets and zinnias on this side. So down this trellis is just a straight trellis, and we have 4 tomato plants here. I keep my tomato plants very pruned, so you can see everything below the trellis will be pruned off, and that keeps the airflow good. And then as they grow, any leaves that start to look spotted or yellowed, like this one's getting just a little bit on it, I'll cut those whole branches off. So by the end of the year, these tomatoes will be pretty bare, but it does keep them from getting too much blight. I did plant marigolds in between my tomatoes this year since there is all that room underneath. Now, I don't know if that's going to cause a decrease in airflow, which is what keeps the bacteria from getting too bad. But I like the look of it. It fills it right in, and marigolds are great for deterring tomato pests. And when I plant lots of flowers that deter tomato pests, I don't get as many. Like hornworms are not such a problem for me, it seems like, with all of the marigolds and the zinnias. So that's been really working well for me. So I've got a few varieties of tomatoes, some slicing tomatoes. I didn't do a lot of paste tomatoes because I don't want to make any tomato sauces this year. And at the end of this garden, we have this gigantic dill. I mean, I do have a raised bed, but they're still really tall. The flowers are coming out. So if we decide to make any pickles, we can use those dill seed heads, and if not, we can freeze that and use it all winter. I want to try cutting these off too, just like the other herbs, and see if we just get more growth. I should probably do that this week and get some in the freezer. I'd love to use frozen dill in tartar sauce and tuna cakes, and salmon cakes all year. So that's this big early garden. Here's another garden I planted a lot of early stuff in, but also left it really open because my watermelons are here. I have 2, one there, one there. I did have plans for cantaloupe in this garden as well, but something ate them as soon as they came up. I've got some snapdragons on the end. They're getting ready to bloom. I love snapdragons. And this is the north end of my garden, so I also have my sunflowers back here, and there's some on the other north end garden as well. This is a small it's called a Jack Be Little pumpkin. So there's those little decorative pumpkins. They're orange and they're so nice for decorating. You can also eat them. There's not a whole lot of meat to them, but you can This was radishes that are going to seed. And I like to leave some to go to seed because this seed pod is delicious to eat. It has a really mild radish flavor. It's good in salad, just as a garden snack. So I have a lot of those in here still. We can harvest those and then I'll pull those plants out and probably just let the stuff behind it get some more sun. Because behind these radishes, I did, oh, there's a radish right there. I did another planting of radishes. I also put some cilantro in here that doesn't seem to be doing much yet. And this row has some cilantro coming up, which is great because my first round of cilantro is going to seed, but these I leave because these flowers will turn into coriander, the little tiny seed pod that is good to eat also. So we'll have that either just to let it reseed or to eat. Here's my second planting of lettuce, which is looking really nice. And good timing since the other lettuce is probably going to be starting to be pretty bitter. So here's that bed from the other side. And this has another arched trellis. One side has the Jack B. Little pumpkins and the other side has my cucumbers, which I did not go crazy planting this year because we made so many pickles last year that we still have so many pickles, which I'm glad to take a year off for making pickles, and I won't do so many again. So these are starting. Here's a flower, and these will climb up. These are mostly pickling cucumbers, just as I thought the size would be nice, and then if I wanted to do pickles, it'd be the right kind. But I did do some bigger slicing cucumbers also, and I've got a pretty little zinnia right here. I love zinnias, so I've got them everywhere. Another one right here, and like I said, I'll probably come back and make an arrangement of all of those and pick them all. Here's some more parsley. We use a lot of parsley chard, which I mostly eat for breakfast in the morning, and I've given a lot of it away. My chard has just done beautifully. We had a really cold spring, so all these cold weather things did really well, except for the kale. The kale did not like the abrupt change from cold to heat, which happened very fast for us. It was cold and then it was very hot. So that kale got burned. The newer leaves are looking good, but I wonder if it's just too crowded in here for these two. Got another nasturtium in the front here, but they still have time, and in the meantime, we've been eating our chard. Here is basil. This is actually not the only place I have basil. There's 2 rows of it here. More snapdragons. I really load my beds, but I really fertilize them. So I will do cow manure every year, composted cow manure, and that's why I can plant things so tight. Here's a zucchini. I did a lot of zucchini this year because we need zucchini relish, and I like to eat them fresh too. So they're starting. They'll be ready this week. There's another one back here. One of these, this one might be a summer squash. Oh, and there's another little one in there, and we'll see how well that does without getting a lot of sun. Marigolds. Oh, marigolds. These get so giant. I love them. They smell great. I like to put marigolds and mint and even geraniums, which don't last that well, but they do smell strong, in my bathroom, because in the summer, in the humidity, the bathrooms start to really stink, but those strong smelling plants really help. We've got 2 sunflowers on this side. I should have cut one of those out, but I couldn't do it. And maybe they'll be fine. Maybe they don't need a lot of root space. So I've got 2 sunflowers here, one on the other side. This is the north end of my garden. Let's go down to the other arch trellis, which we haven't looked at these 2 beds yet. So this is another arch, and of course I have the scarlet runner beans going on it, which are looking beautiful. Behind the arch on this side I have carrots, lots and lots of carrots. We didn't do carrots last year, but this year they're doing so well. There's one right there. We did harvest a bunch for dinner last night, and they were so good. Another nasturtium here coming over the corner. In among the carrots, I have scallions. These scallions were from my CSA, which I do still get through the summer because they get things earlier than I do with their greenhouses and some things that we just don't plant. So let me get this nasturtium out of the carrots and the scallions. So when we got scallions in the spring from them, anytime we do, we use them, but we take the root end and plant it in the garden. So then I have scallions all summer without having to use up my CSA on getting those. So I can just cut these whenever I want scallions. This nasturtium is just really liking this spot. You can eat these too. These are good in salad. They're kind of spicy. So I wonder if we can get this to go where Joe can still mow. It's not so much in the, there, get that going into the path a little bit more. Those are just wild and I love them. Behind the carrots, I did some salad turnips, which are pretty much done. They actually, no, there's some more in here. Oh no, those look nice. I mostly just eat these again with breakfast. I eat the greens and the roots, so that's a nice plant. They also worked as a great decoy early in the season. The bugs, the slugs really liked them, and it kept them away from other things that they might have destroyed, because these were already big enough not to be destroyed by them. So I also have, let's see, now I don't know how they're doing because they're really crammed in here, but yeah, not well. So these are red onions, and I experimented with planting them in a row of carrots, but I think the carrots were too thick because they're not doing much, but we can use those as scallions too. That was just an experiment. Here's another nasturtium to get on the other side here. So the other side of this bed that has the carrots and the turnips, on the other side of this trellis, and will grow up it, is a climbing zucchini, which is a great use of space for a zucchini. I love those climbing varieties. Last year was the first year I planted one, and it was great. And I planted too many on a trellis. This year I just planted one. So, maybe two. I planted two. So it should be able to, I should be able to keep this contained. We also went on vacation right at the time when I needed to be helping it trellis. So it was kind of a mess. This year we're going on vacation later. So I should be able to get this going up, and that gets pretty big. So between that and our other zucchini over here, and then I have another spot I'll show you with more zucchini. I should have plenty to eat, freeze some for breads, and make zucchini relish, which we love. Another zinnia. Isn't that so pretty? I love zinnias because they cut and last inside so well, and they're just really prolific. Oh, here's another color in those, the little red with white tips. So this trellis goes up and over. Right now, a lot of scarlet runner beans, and this side has green beans, which I swear yesterday they were not all the way up here. They're growing so fast. In June, it feels like, how could the garden ever be big enough to feed you? And then in July, you see why. You see why it will. I have some of the big, let me get my shadow out of the way. Big variety of zinnias. Those are coming. They're a little bit slower to get going than the short ones. I have a chive plant here, which we cut this all completely off about a month ago because it was just laying all over the tarragon behind it. And look, it's already back. So cut those herbs back, makes them grow more. So this is all green beans. That's going to take over that trellis behind the green beans. This is getting a lot of shade right now because the sun is just coming up. I'm facing east right now. But when that sun gets up a little higher, this is going to be all sunny. And these are my peppers. So I have bell peppers in the back. It's the first year I'm trying those. And the shorter ones are shishitos and jalapenos. We like to eat a lot of jalapeno poppers. Jalapeno with cream cheese wrapped in bacon. And Leo, my son, likes those with shishitos because they're not as spicy. So we do some of that for him. And now we are back to where we started. Here's that first garden with the garlic. Now let me take you over to where we have another garden, a new garden this year that I haven't done before. All I did was have my husband pile a bunch of composted manure in this spot, and I covered it with fabric, of course, so the cats wouldn't pee in it. And it's been doing really well. It doesn't get any morning sun, but it does get sun all mid to late afternoon. So I think, I mean, it's looking like it's doing really well. I don't like to come up here a whole lot. It was just mowed, so it's not terribly grassy, but all I can think about when I'm up here is ticks. And I forgot to do when I first came out was take a quick scan. There's the garden that we're looking at, but I do like to get a quick scan in for bears because we've had a bear come around a lot this spring and summer. It's a small bear. They're not bears. Black bears in Vermont are not dangerous in any way, but you still don't really want to run into one. That one is probably pretty young. It did not care about our voices and yelling. It does care about banging on pots. So as soon as we started doing that, it has not been coming around. So yeah, I'm gonna give my legs a nice tick check when I come off this hill, but it is pretty mowed right now. So up here in this little square of a garden, I have zucchini in the middle. Let's see if they're doing anything. Oh yeah, we're getting some baby zucchinis in there. I see one right there. And, oh, yep, and there's one down in there too. So that's great. I think I planted 3, but only 2 came up. Yep. So I've got 2 zucchinis, and then around the edges are my big pumpkins. So this, that, and then there's one in the back. I did some Long Island cheese pumpkins, which are supposed to be really good for eating. They're also really pretty for decorating. They're a pale, like a beige color. And then the great big orange jack-o'-lantern pumpkins for the kids. And I try to do, usually we end up with just 2 jack-o'-lanterns, and they take turns picking first each year. But this year I tried to do lots more. So maybe we'll have like extras for decorating. So these can just, let me take you back down and give you a really good overview of this hill, because these pumpkins just take it over. Usually what they're taking over is my yard. This way I do have watermelon over there, but they're not as crazy as pumpkins, and I would never have been able to do this many in my raised bed garden that I showed you first. So this hill, they can just take it over. So Joe weed whacked this recently, and now it can belong to these pumpkins because they are going to start growing really fast. Let me show you now there's my geraniums and my kitty, but my geraniums that I've been cutting and bringing in to the bathroom. They're a nice, strong smelling plant, and I put them there because I thought that maybe it would keep the mosquitoes away from the deck. We've had a lot of bugs this year. Hi, Fiona. So let me show you where we planted cherries and blueberries this year. It's right by our hazelnuts, which are doing nothing. Although this year maybe they will. I thought maybe they need to be fertilized because they've been getting flowers for the past couple years. Oh, there's a hummingbird right now. They've been getting flowers and not nuts. So I'm thinking maybe they just don't have enough nutrients to make a nut. So I did throw some NKP, what we had for the yard. So nitrogen, potassium, what is it? N, K, what's the K? I don't know. It's the stuff that's good. So, let me show you. So I threw that on the surface of the soil there at their roots, and we'll see if it helps. So this is the hazelnut. There's 2 of them. One there, one here. They're giant. It'd be really fun to get some hazelnuts, but nothing yet. And then we've got Nanking cherry, which is like a cherry shrub. I think it's about the same size as a hazelnut. So that'll fill in here. Another one there, and then we've got, oh, here's a poppy. That's why it's not weed whacked around these bushes, because I threw in some poppy seeds and they were coming up. So we protected them. This one's about to bloom. Look how pretty that's gonna be. That's gonna be a big one. I had one bloom that was just tiny because it was so choked out by all the grass. Next year, I want to save these and let's put them somewhere where they can just not be in the grass. Here's a blueberry. I got 4 different varieties of blueberries all down this row. This used to be, and if you remember from other years, this was trellised and had green beans last year, but I wanted to move away. I wanted to be able to just let Joe mow around in here. And we decided to do blueberries. Here's my advice to you. Should you ever move into a house that you think you're not going to stay in, plant the stuff anyway, because now we've been here for 11 years and I didn't plant because we weren't going to stay, but we're here. So I could have been having fruit all this time. And raspberries. I moved here this year and I picked the first one yesterday and ate it. I thought, oh, I should leave this for the kids. And then I thought there's only one. So that seems like something I should eat. So that's exciting. And they're going to spread like crazy now. They're in a good spot. I used to have them in a place that didn't get any sun. So there you have it. Those are the gardens. They're just looking so gorgeous. I love July. It doesn't feel like summer's over yet, which August around here starts to feel kind of cool. And everything is just so big and lush. And I just love to sit out here and look at it. Something really magical happened today and yesterday, and it's happening again tomorrow, and that is that both of my kids are at camp at the same time, which is the first, because my daughter is just 4. She's just getting into going places, and we homeschool, so they're just like always here, and I like that, but also it makes it really exciting when I come out here and do a garden video for you, and it's just me. So thank you for joining me this morning. It's gorgeous. It's going to be a really hot day. I need to go inside, close the windows, and turn on the air conditioning, which we did get hooked up yesterday, getting ready for this week. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. I hope you're gardening or eating fresh vegetables in some way this summer. I'll see you next time.